Everyone feared the Millionaire CEO, until the new secretary arrived and did what no one had ever done. Everyone said Adrian Wolf was the kind of man who could freeze a room just by walking into it. The kind of CEO whose employees shook when he spoke, whose name alone made investors go silent, and whose rules were followed so strictly that even the sound of a dropped pin felt like a crime inside Wolf Enterprises. He wasn't cruel, he was worse. He was controlled, unreadable, and devastatingly intelligent. A man who smiled once every 3 years, and even then people questioned if they had imagined it. So when HR announced his new secretary, the entire 37th floor braced for another victim. Her name was Amelia Hart. She arrived wearing a simple white blouse, black slacks, and a calm expression that didn't belong in a building known for swallowing people whole. Her hair was tied neatly, her bag was modest, and she walked like someone who didn't fear wolves, millionaires, or CEOs who shredded resumes for sport. Her first day began with the inevitable whispering. "She'll quit by lunch," someone murmured. "By coffee break," another corrected. "No one lasts with him," a third agreed. He once fired a guy for breathing too loudly. But Amelia simply smiled, thanked them for the directions, and walked straight into the office that everyone else treated like a lion's den. Adrian Wolf didn't look up when she entered. "You're late," he said, even though she wasn't. "I'm early, sir. Don't argue with me." "I'm not. I'm correcting," she replied calmly. He finally glanced up. No fear. Not in her eyes. Only clarity, stillness, something he hadn't seen in years. He dismissed it. Secretaries came and went. None mattered. But Amelia did something no one else ever dared to do. She rearranged his schedule. Not by mistake. Not because she misunderstood. But because she believed he needed it. At 10:15 a.m. sharp, she walked into his office with a clipboard. "Your meeting with the Easton Group is moved to tomorrow," she informed him. Adrian turned his chair slowly, the way a storm takes its time before striking. "You moved my meeting," he repeated, voice dangerously soft. "Yes. You had no permission. You also had no breakfast, no lunch scheduled, and no break in between 6 back-to-back appointments," she replied. "You run a billion-dollar empire, Mr. Wolf. Not a marathon." The room went so silent that even the air stopped moving. Anyone else would have been thrown out of the building. But Adrian didn't fire her. He didn't even raise his voice. Instead, he stared at her like she was a puzzle he wasn't sure he wanted to solve. And that was the moment everything changed. By the end of her first week, Amelia had done the unthinkable. She replaced his coffee machine, installed plants in an office that hadn't seen life in 10 years. And forced him to take 5-minute breaks that he spent glaring at the window while pretending not to follow her instructions. No one understood how she survived. Some employees swore she had magic powers. Others whispered she must have dirt on him. But the truth was much simpler. Amelia Hart was not afraid of Adrian Wolf because she knew something no one else did. The man people feared had once been capable of kindness, gentleness, even love, and she was there for one reason: to remind him of it. Or so they all thought. Because Amelia had a secret too. On her third week, she received a message. It was short, cold, specific. "Remember why you're there. Don't get distracted." She read it twice, locked her phone, and continued her day like nothing had happened. But that night, when she returned to her tiny apartment, she pulled out a folder hidden inside her desk drawer. Inside was a photo of a woman. Her mother. And the man in the background of the image. Adrian Wolf. Her jaw tightened. She hadn't come to Wolf Enterprises by accident. She had applied precisely because she knew Adrian would hire her. Her mother had spent 20 years working for him, giving everything to the company. Until suddenly, she had been fired, destroyed, and left with nothing. No explanation, no apology, just ruin. Amelia's hands trembled slightly as she stared at the photo. "This is for her," she whispered. Her plan was simple: get close, earn trust, find out what Adrian did, expose him, make him pay. But nothing about Adrian Wolf was simple. The first real crack appeared in week 4. It was late, past midnight, and Amelia found him still working, sleeves rolled up, eyes tired but focused on financial reports stacked like small skyscrapers. "Why are you still here?" she asked. "I could ask you the same." She walked closer. "Because someone needs to tell you to go home." He didn't react. Not with irritation. Not with sarcasm. Just silence. Then, quietly, he said something no one had ever heard from him. "I don't know how." Her breath caught. Not because of the words, but because of the vulnerability behind them. She saw a truth she wasn't prepared for. Adrian Wolf wasn't heartless. He was hollow, like someone had carved out all the soft parts and taught him never to speak of the pain again. She turned away quickly, shaken. This wasn't part of her plan. She couldn't feel anything. Not sympathy. Not softness. Revenge didn't allow space for warmth. But warm feelings began creeping in anyway. The next morning, employees watched through glass walls as Adrian Wolf did something that made the entire floor gasp. He laughed. Not loudly, not fully, but enough that people stood up from their desks. And it was Amelia who caused it. He handed her a file. "You color-coded my reports," he said dryly. "You couldn't find anything otherwise." He lifted one eyebrow. "I always find everything. You lost your phone for 3 days. That was one time. That was last week." For the first time in years, Adrian didn't win the argument. For the first time ever, someone challenged him, and survived. People stared like they were witnessing a miracle. Adrian didn't seem to notice. His eyes were on Amelia. And something dangerous flickered in them. Interest, curiosity, maybe even something deeper. She felt it too. A pull she shouldn't feel. A warmth she shouldn't want. But she reminded herself, this was still revenge. No matter how human he looked under those layers of ice. No matter how gently he said her name. No matter how his gaze lingered a second longer every day. She couldn't forget why she was there. Until she finally learned the truth. It happened on a Thursday. She found a box in Adrian's office. Old files, old photos, old memories. And among them, a letter. Her mother's handwriting. Her hands shook when she opened it. "Adrian, thank you for helping me. I know you risked everything to protect me. One day I hope Amelia will understand why I had to leave. Please forgive me for disappearing the way I did." Her vision blurred. It didn't make sense. She read it again, and again. Her mother hadn't been ruined by Adrian. She had been saved by him. Protected, hidden, because someone else had threatened her, and Adrian had taken the blame, demanded secrecy, and cut ties publicly to keep her safe. Her breath broke. Everything she had believed, everything she had planned, everything she had wanted to destroy. It was all wrong. Adrian Wolf wasn't her enemy. He had been her mother's shield. And she had been sent to betray him. The door opened. Adrian stood there, eyes unreadable, watching the truth crumble inside her. "You weren't supposed to find that," he said quietly. She swallowed hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you came here hating me. And you had every right. I chose to look like the villain so your mother could live without fear." Her knees weakened. "Why?" she whispered. His jaw tightened, but his voice softened. "Because I owed her. And because I wanted to protect you too." Her heart stopped. Everything inside her shattered and rebuilt all at once. She took a trembling breath. "I came here to ruin you," she admitted. "I know," he said. "And yet, I'm still glad you came." Silence hung between them. Fragile, charged, electric. Then Adrian took a step toward her. "Amelia," he said softly, "tell me what you want now." What she wanted. Revenge. No, not anymore. She lifted her eyes to meet his. "You," she whispered. And this time, Adrian Wolf, the CEO everyone feared, closed the distance between them. And did what he had never done with anyone. He let himself fall.